Hi, this is Mary Grace with Quilting Bee number 9. I know, it's been a while, because I've been doing other stuff, which I'll show at the end, because it's quilting adjacent, as you will recall. First, the update on the quilt for my elder son is this map of the United States. I have done some more quilting along the edge. Now, the quilt police are not going to be happy with me because instead of, I guess, quilting each piece in and what have you, I just quilted one long line down here. And actually, I started in the center and quilted out, and I can see where my pieces don't. Apparently, I did not get quite the same right there. And they didn't even line up. But I'm not going back for that. I am going to go back, obviously, collar stitches. The quilting police will not like it because I did that. And then I also discovered I don't like this little brown piece coming out. So I ripped all of that out on this side and then had to go back and do a locking stitch to lock this in place. So I have so many strings in the back of this. And I don't know why, but my front thread keeps pulling through my back. And I have two different color threads going on. I have brown for the front so it'll blend in. And I have a gray to blend in on the back of this sheet. Because, you know, sustainability and thriftiness, I happen to have a bunch of sheets. This one actually was off my son's bed. You know, it got that epic hole down at the bottom that sheets tend to have. So I'm reusing the rest of it. And I've learned something. I got the special batting to go in here that based on both sides, and I ironed it down, didn't iron very well, and that's probably in part because I am using a sheet. And down here, I just went for it. Up here, I came back and I re-ironed it, so there's a lot less bubbles here. There still are quite a bit of spots where it doesn't come together just right, which is why maybe an honorable mention quilt, not even a third place quilt at the fair, but I'm going to enter it anyways. Number one, because I'm going to the fair anyways. And I want to help up their numbers so that, you know, so they had over 3,000 pieces in the home arts building last year, which seems like a lot, but it's really not. If you consider how big Montgomery County is and the fact that like 157 were put in by one person, it's not a lot of pieces. Quilting area does have 10%. Had about 300 pieces. So I want to do my part of that 10%, and I will have this done by the fair. And so I did specifically, I was watching other floss tubes. I was like, I haven't made a quilt tube in a while. So therefore I did specifically do all this stitching this morning, so that then I could film this floss tube that you're all watching. And that'll help me progress, and I'll get it done. So this is the United States. And I went to Canada. And you got to stop at a quilt shop in Canada. I actually went to Up Your Quilt. Your is spelled Y-U-R. Part of me wanted to go to more quilt shops, but I was like, why? I really got the one piece I wanted. Again, for my older son, look, I got a quilt of Canada to go with his quilt of the United States. And he's been to Canada twice, so I thought this would be great. Now again, these people don't think like I do when it comes to panel quilts. Again, see the beavers running across the center there and the duck. Now at least it's not words this time. So I think I am going to quilt based on the dividing lines between the areas, which again, this area will be kind of, oh no, actually I won't. I'm going to quilt right down the middle of the moose because it's not a word. I really don't like to quilt a word. Also, this panel is really tight on the edges. I wish it was a full 2 inches here at the top so that I had more room. I mean, that is tight. But I mean, I'll make it work. I will just be quilting right to, I mean, obviously, I'll probably just go around the aisle and do some other things that the quilt police won't appreciate it. But, you know, under the know who you're quilting for, quilting it for my son. My son is never going to look at the back of this thing and go, bam, bam. Look at all those wrinkles you quilted right in. He is only ever going to look at the front. He will probably put this on his wall or maybe over a chair or something, and I think he will truly appreciate it, which it's hard to find for me to find things that I think my older son will appreciate. My younger son, Fiber son, who has the themes of Subby the Crab and frogs, you know. Okay, I'll grant you, if you watch some of my other videos, you know my older son likes frogs too. I did do a frog cross stitch for him, but it's not his orientation as much. I think he's much more of a minimalist. But again, he'll get this one this year for Christmas after it goes to the fair, and then this will be next year's quilt. So, other uses of panels. Obviously, I'm making these into wall hangings, but the reason I called this quilting video Panels Plus is this is the standard use of panels. And I'll grant you, most people would have made this bigger, but it's fine. But I saw this frog panel, as discussed. Younger son loves frogs, and he needed new curtains. So it's a 3-part panel. He had to pick out which 2 parts he liked best, and this is one of the ones he liked. And I sewed again, reusing of the black sheets, because our original bed was a standard king. Then I think we moved to a California king. Then we moved to this king that goes up, down, you know, everything. And the sheets, you needed bigger and bigger and bigger sheets. So I have these old sheets, so I'm using them. Of course, the black doesn't match perfectly, but that's okay. But I did stitch it together. I think this will work for his curtains. I need to have him check. I've got this one done. I want to check and put it on the curtain rod, and then if it looks good, I'll do the second one. But so this is another use of a panel. It didn't line up perfectly at the bottom. That's life, but I actually did top stitching, which I never do. I top stitched it here, and I stitched it together here so that it wasn't just flying open. And I even managed to pull it through this little hole when I did it, and did the top stitching second. So I was really proud of myself for that. I was like, brilliant. Especially because, did I look at a pattern? Did I just go, well, I made one before out of pillowcases. How hard could it be? And I whipped this out pretty quickly this morning. So again, reusing the black pillowcase, black sheets, to then make these curtains for my son. And yeah, I'll put these in the fair too. They won't go at my fair, which I discuss in detail. And I would love you all to come to the Montgomery County Fair. It is second week of August. And like I said, there are 17 different category in the home arts, and within those 17, I think it's 17 categories, there's like, well, you know, cross stitch has 100 classes. Accessories has closer, I actually have no idea, but I do know they have a curtain class or maybe a home class of some kind. So I'm going to put this in the sewing accessories as opposed to sewing clothing, and obviously not in quilting, although it was done with the quilt panel, because I did not put batting in here or anything. I just did it straight up. Simple to give my son. He wanted to redo his bedroom, and frogs, that's what he got. Another quilt panel I got while I was in Canada was this one. And I like it because it's not on pink or blue, although it is on green. I don't know, I bought it. Part of me is like, I will make yet another quilting bag like I did earlier. But I already have one. Why would I make another one? I'm not sure, but I might. Or I can make it into a project bag. Because for my cross-stitch projects and embroidery projects, I would like a few more project bags because I have several in rotation now so that my floss tube has more than one piece for me to talk about. And I do find that they each need a project bag. But I only have so much time in the day / week. I mean, you can tell by the fact that I spent 3 months since I've done a quilting tube. I haven't even spent much time doing quilting. And if you look at my floss tubes, well, they're 7 minutes, going for 10, that I haven't been doing my stitching there either. That's in part because I'm also a Girl Scout, if I haven't mentioned that before. And I've spent 3 weekends this past month doing archery instruction, and that takes the whole day. It's really more archery facilitation for a exposure. The Scouts get to shoot 10 arrows, but that's 10 more arrows than they shot the day before, and they have a great time. And I love doing archery facilitation for the Girl Scouts. So that takes up some of my time. And therefore, I've not got done as much. So I want to show you, I want this floss tube, a quilting bee tube, to be longer than 2 minutes. So I thought I would bring back from the past my other uses of panels. So I made this bag. It has a zipper and everything, and I put it in the Montgomery County Fair previously. Yeah, my stitching is all off on here, and I did completely wing this, and I didn't square it up, but my mitered corners look really good, and I love it, and that's really all that matters. I most recently did add these cute little patches so that I would know it's for my sewing and my quilting. Well, I mean, I knew that already, but I thought they looked really cute, so I added them. So that is another use of a panel. So far, we have the throw blanket, normal. Curtains, bet you hadn't thought of that. They square up easily for a bag. And I was going to show you the other panel that I made into a book, but I forgot to bring it down. But it was a book, so no biggie there. Now for my quilty adjacent update, the thing that has been taking me so much time is the bear for my sister. Okay, since last anyone has seen this, I did sew the center down on the bear, and I added this bear, another cooking bear. I was actually quite distressed on the back. I had put the cooking bear, and I was distressed that there were no good bears on the front, so I added this cooking bear. It's a slightly different artist than, I mean, it's from the same book from the 80s, but the artist for this bear is a little bit different than the other ones, but it's fine. And then I added this bear. I added a bear over here with a package, because my sister is known for her ability to wrap packages beautifully. The only problem is it's probably going to roll under just a little bit at both the top and the bottom because of where it is on the leg. There was a hat. Not doing the hat, because that would definitely roll off. And right here where there's a bow, instead of stitching that, I'm actually going to make a bow out of a ribbon and put it on there to give it some more 3D effects. But sewing this stomach on was very difficult. Hope and pray it all comes out, looks good together, because I have stitched a lot on this bear. So that has been taking, a lot of my time, because this is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitching projects just on the front of the bear. And then, of course, I stitched on the buttons and the cheeks and the stitching of each piece together. So this is quilting adjacent because it's done patchwork style. My other quilting adjacent is my crazy quilt. I promise I'm actually working on this. I've gotten farther. I added these button combinations, which I'm loving. I went to the button outlet factory in Hagerstown, and I'm scheduled to go again for the next month, and they just have the coolest stuff. So I'm really excited about that. Unfortunately, I need to rough it out better. I think I'm gonna have to cut off both these edges right here. I stitched too far, but that's okay, because I still want to make an octagon out of this and then have the squares in between the octagons. This one's going to be the centerpiece. So we'll see where that goes. At the very least, before fair, hopefully before my next video, which will be before fair, but there might only be one given that my last video was 3 months ago, I'm going to put edge on it and put it in the fair anyways. Although I already have a tree, I'll have to see if there's two. I'll have to check the classes. So that is my Quilting Bee panel update. Remember, personalize what you do, and don't tell the quilt police what I do. Bye!